Good evening, everybody. Today is October the 22nd, 2020. The time is 6:58 p.m. Now, we have to apologize as a board. We're running a little bit behind schedule, actually about a half an hour, but it was time well spent. In case you didn't have a chance to tune in, we recognize Hispanic Heritage Month. Man, we have a lot of folks to recognize, and they deserved every minute of our time. We had adults and young scholars that we wanted to take the time to recognize. So we apologize for the delay, but if you saw the ceremony, if you saw the adults who've made countless contributions to the community, the children that have done academically, have performed academically in a superior way, you would appreciate the effort and the time that we gave them today. We wish we could have given them 2 hours. So again, we apologize for the delay, but we're here now. And as all board meetings, I'm going to call it to order, and then I'm going to begin as we do in our general business meetings with the pledge to the American flag. As I've often said, if it's your thing to join me and the board in this, you can do that. If not, you can sit down and just do what you feel is your right to do in the United States of America. But because we're under COVID, we're not in our conference room. I'm just going to turn my camera to the American flag that I have in my office, and I'm going to stand up off camera, and whoever cares to join me can do that by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, I repeat that, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, that doesn't take up much time, but those are important words. All right, next item on the agenda is upcoming board. Well, actually, we're going to do the Yes We Can Awards. Is that right, Madam Clerk?
That is correct.
Okay, well, we got, my colleagues have often heard me say, I've been saying this for years, we don't celebrate the good news enough. We really don't. And, the media is so quick to put out the bad news. And sometimes we even put out that bad news. But when few years ago, we decided to do the Yes We Can Award, we said we ought to be recognizing organizations within our district, like schools, that are leading the way in the area of hope by producing positive results, positive gains. So that's what the Yes We Can Award is about. And the emphasis is on the yes, and the other emphasis is on we. And so tonight we are very, very blessed to recognize two schools. One is East High School and the other is Monroe High School in the area of improvements in the graduation rate. Now, Commissioner LeBron is going to introduce the Monroe High School. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, we're each as board members assigned liaisons to particular schools. I happen to be assigned to East. Commissioner LeBron happens to be assigned to Monroe, but these schools don't belong to us. And they don't even belong to the board. And they certainly don't belong to the superintendent or the staff or even the principals. They belong to the community. And so I hope in introducing Superintendent Sean Nelms, I hope everybody embraces the success that he and his team and the students have had there. And I hope everybody embraces the success that Principal Sandra and her team have had at Monroe. So without further ado, Superintendent Nelms.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner White, and to all the commissioners and to both schools at East and Monroe. I am extremely fortunate to be part of an incredible team at East led by Principal Marlene Blocker. Marlene came to us, she's been a part of the RCSD for a long time and started, I think, at 23 as a principal and went over to the early college and then came over to East. And under her leadership, she has moved the graduation rate in 5 years from 29% the year prior to East to 78% anticipated this past August. And to think about what it takes to lead graduation rates, what it takes to lead a school goes beyond the end result. We often emphasize at East the importance of distributed leadership, meaning that there's no single heroic figure in any organization, that we have to own the success and the failures together. And what she has done is created a team of leaders, leadership in the role of students, leadership in the role of teachers and staff, leadership in roles of the community and parents, and leadership from the administrative team itself. Marlene's a very humble individual, and I know she hates being on the spotlight. but I have to say that I have never seen a school be successful without a strong leader. And everyone in our school and our school community would say that she is among the best that I've ever worked with, and perhaps the best in urban settings across the nation. We're lucky to have her here in Rochester. So with that being said, I would turn over to Marlene so she can thank the staff and also thank the board for their support.
I'd like to say thank you to everyone. I have our award right here that will be proudly displayed. As Dr. Nelm said, it's distributed leadership, and without everyone here doing their part, it wouldn't happen. I often say in good organizations, the leader holds people accountable, but in great organizations, each individual holds every other individual accountable. My goal here was to empower people, to empower scholars, to make sure that their voice was heard, for parents to feel like they were welcomed and a part of what we were doing on a daily basis, and for our staff to understand we needed to have high rigorous standards, but I also strongly believe in autonomy. If you want to skip to the finish line and the next person wants to somersault or hop, that's fine with me, as long as you're doing the job of getting our kids across the graduation stage. So I'm honored to receive this award, appreciative to the Board of Education for acknowledging the hard work that's happening here, and also thank you to Dr. Nelms for being the leader of all that we do. Thank you, everyone.
Sean, you still there?
Yep.
Were you going to do the dropout trend data, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, again, I think all the data that we have, that we share, we often talk about the end result, and we like to focus at East on the conditions that are created that lead to the end result. And so for the dropout trend data, you'll see that prior to the EPO, the 4-year dropout rate was around 40%. What this number doesn't tell you is the actual number was above 50 when you push that number out to 5-year and 6-year, because kids were still on the books. So the dropout rate is one of those data points that are often misleading. So when we got to East, I think the board knows this, the dropout rate was closer to 52% and the graduation rate was trending towards 19%. And that's when the University of Rochester was asked to partner. How do we get to a place where the dropout rate is on a steady and drastic decline? You do that by honoring what students want most, and that's relationships. What Marlene has done in the staff at East is created a structure called Family Group, where we check in with our students for 30 minutes every single day to discuss academic, political, social, emotional needs. And then we create and we have a responsive system to address the things that they uncover or that they share. So dropout rates is not just about a kid being able to read and write, but it's about them feeling welcome and supported in the school environment. And so I'll repeat what I said earlier. We can often focus on data points, we can focus on arbitrary measures, but the real impact is what happens when the kids get to school, while they're in school, and how they connect with school outside of school on the weekends. And East has created a tremendous model under Marlene Blocker, focused on restoring relationships among students, focused on relationships between adults, and focused on relationships between our school and the community that we serve. So the dropout rate is just an illustration of what happens when you create a collaborative environment focused on the whole child. And again, Marlene, thank you so much, and all the administrators and teachers and staff and community at East for giving your all every single day to support our school environment.
Before we turn the mic over to Commissioner LeBron, I just wanted to add to Sean's point about this being a whole community effort over at East. And I don't want my comments that I'm about to make to distract from that, because none of this happens without an entire community, including parents and students. But I did want to do a little historical reference point. Marlene, if I recall, was at a pretty successful elementary school. Marlene, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong about this, and some of my colleagues who've been around will know. She could have stayed in that school, and she'll never say this, and really, as Sean says, you don't ever really see Marlene at trying to take credit, but this point of history is really important. She could have stayed at a very comfortable, quote unquote, comfortable school and kept on doing her thing, and people were very happy with her there. But my recollection is she was looking for a greater challenge, and there was no greater challenge in the Rochester City School District, or perhaps in any other high school in the state of New York, than East High School. It was the worst performing high school, I believe, in all the state of New York. And it was certainly our worst performing school in the district. And Marlene came out of what was essentially a safe school and decided that she would help everybody else. And there are a lot of people that I just don't know the good work they've done. And Marlene would know it, and she knows that she didn't do this on her own, and Sean didn't do this on her own. But I do have to point out that she came out of what would have been a comfortable environment and decided to make another environment very comfortable. And Marlene, on behalf of the board and the community, and again, recognizing that there are a lot of people, and to all those people, on behalf of the board, I'm sorry I don't know all your names. I'm sorry I don't know all that you do day in and day out to love kids, to push them across that finish line. And we know you're doing that work. But just allow me, on behalf of the board, to thank Marlene for having the courage and the commitment to make a difference at East High School. So thank you, Marlene. I've never had a chance to say that to you, but I did want to say that to you. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Dr. Nelms. Okay, Commissioner LeBron, you've got another great district story there to tell at Monroe. So why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. So before I start talking about Monroe, I just want to recognize to all of our high school principals and staff that are out there watching tonight, that I also recognize that there are lots of amazing programs and staff who are giving it their all at many of our high schools across the district. And tonight we're just happen to be highlighting Monroe High School, which is one of the schools that I am the board liaison for. But also Monroe definitely has a special place in my own personal life and heart. So my girls went to Northeast, Northwest, so they were Panthers, so go Northwest. But my daughter's best friend who grew up in my household was a Monroe High School student. And so even though she was not my daughter, I did get to experience the parental experience of having to attend events at both. And I have a lot of deep, deep respect for all of the staff at Monroe and the leadership team especially. I have witnessed personally as a commissioner over the last just 2.5 years alone, all of the remarkable work that goes into transforming a school and increasing graduation rates, and have just been in awe by the staff and the work that they have done at Monroe High School. But I also want to just a special thank you from myself personally to Sandra, who has been a remarkable principal with a lot of heart and love, not only for this work, but for the students and her staff, and it's evident. And so I'm gonna turn it over to Leslie, but I did let the superintendent know I wanted to share just from my heart how special Monroe High School is and just how much I personally appreciate the leadership there. So Leslie, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. Good evening to everyone. I think most of you know that in January, I was serving as the Assistant Commissioner of Innovation and School Reform. And my very first week on the job, the first 2 days were in the Buffalo Public School District, and then I came over to Rochester. And Monroe was one of those schools that I visited. And when I interacted with Sandra and her team, I was impressed with their ability to really take a look at where they were and using research-based strategies to really move that needle forward. We had great conversations about how they were handling attendance and particularly chronic absenteeism. We had great conversations about how they analyzed and looked at the data to talk about how they were implementing curriculum. We had phenomenal conversations about how the administrators were working hand in hand with their school counselors to make sure that they were tracking the number of credits to ensure that students were moving from one grade level to the next with the success. Sandra and her team were particularly proud to talk about and share with me their success with moving forward with the seal of biliteracy, which we heard earlier tonight. And we know that the seal of biliteracy in the state of New York recognizes high school graduates who have obtained a high level of proficiency in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in one or more languages in addition to English. And Sandra has many scholars who have attained that. And while I have visited all across the state afterwards, from New York City to Schenectady, etc., I know that there were things that I remember from what Sandra had shared, and I recommended principals and superintendents to talk to Monroe about some of the great things that I saw that they were doing. So I had that relationship with Sandra and her team, who were very welcoming to me. So now serving as her and co-laboring with her as superintendent and principal, I'm so pleased to see, Sandra, what you all have accomplished. And I love that Margaret Mead saying that says, you know, never take for granted what a small committed group of individuals can achieve, right? And it's synergistic at Monroe. So I'm certainly looking forward to coming to Monroe in person once we have the final graduation data, and we're going to party like it's 1999. But I am so proud of you. And as Marlene said, it really is about getting that synergistic energy and focusing around common goals and really having that one vision, one voice, one mind. And you do that incredibly well. So I am so proud that you are being recognized tonight for having your team really getting together and rowing in the same direction. And I can't be more honored to co-labor and work with you to ensure that all of our scholars at Monroe, in this case, are meeting or exceeding standards, and you have done that. So congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you, Dr. Myers-Sloan. Thank you to the Board of Education. Thank you to Commissioner LeBron, and thank you to our Chief, Dr. Green. On behalf of James Monroe High School, we are very proud and honored to receive this award. To be recognized today for the growth of the graduation rate and the Cielo by Literacy designation is truly an honor. But like it was mentioned before, this is the hard work of many. This is the work of a whole community, a whole village that has taken the responsibility, rolled their sleeves, and cultivated our students. James Monroe High School is a community. It's a school that saw the challenges and decided to move and work very hard. So I want to take this opportunity to thank our students. You are the reason why we are here, and we miss you very much. We want to thank the families for your support and your contribution. We want to thank the teachers. You are an amazing group of educators. We want to thank the supporting staff because you're so caring and so supportive. And I also want to say thank you to the community partners. We have a group of community partners that we call and they say, here we are. I want to say thank you to Ibero. Thank you for Center for Youth, the interfaith community that always been there, and there are many others. And we are very thankful for that. But last but not least, I want to thank my amazing leadership team. I call you Monroe Mighty Leadership Team because you are a hardworking, your dedication and your commitment to the students. I admire you for that. So like it was previously said, this is not the work of one person. This is the work of a whole community. So once again, on behalf of the school, on behalf of Monroe's High School family, we want to say thank you. We also want to say congratulations to East High School because together we are making a change in our community. This is not a competition. Your students are our students and our students are your students. Together we could do this. Together, yes, we can. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
For those, thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everyone who offered comments tonight. I want to address on behalf of the board those who didn't have a chance to speak tonight about their good work. Understand this is how Yes We Can works. the superintendent, a principal, a board member who's a liaison to a school, anybody can make a nomination to Yes We Can. We've got a lot of great, and as has been said before, we've got a lot of great programs out there with a lot of good people working their butts off to make this district what it can be. And so I want to be clear about this. Anybody can apply for a presentation for tonight. And it doesn't have to be for, a 90%, 80% graduation rate. It can be for some progress that you have shown. That's good news too. So to the staff at East and Monroe, and I think both the leaders in both those organizations know this, your work, the recognition tonight is reflective of a lot of good work that's happening out there, not only in your schools, but in schools that you partner with. So again, I want to encourage my colleagues. I want to encourage the superintendents and anybody listening, even a parent. If you know something that's good that's going on, you know where people are coming together and making a difference in this district, let's put it out there. Let's let the media know this district is doing things to effectuate positive changes in our community. That yes, we can be the district that we need to be for our students and our families. All right. Okay, all right, Mr. Muhammad, nice to see you there, sir. I'm looking at, there's a lot of great stories here. Sandra, you have a powerful personal story that is absolutely amazing that we don't have the time to tell. And I know that folks do, but the way you have contributed to making that community healthy and strong is just absolutely amazing. I don't want to get too personal, but you are just a remarkable leader in terms of what you've been able to do with that community. So for those folks who say, wait, he's talking too much. No, I wish I could say more. I really do. So Sandra, everybody, thank you for your good work. You are what's going to make people believe that this district is what it can be for all of our citizens. So thanks a lot for your work. All right, I see somebody applauding, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Christoph. Well done, everybody. Okay, all right, we're way behind now, but it was worth it. It was worth it. All right, so the next item on the agenda is notice of upcoming events. This is a part that we've added so that folks could know what's happening in our district. Take it away, Madam Clerk.
Certainly. So we just want to let the public know that we do have quite a few upcoming board events that you should be aware of. On the 27th of October, that's next week, Tuesday, we have the ESA committee, and that is when our state monitor, Dr. Jallo, will be presenting a high-level overview of the academic plan. We will also be hosting a hearing with regards to the fiscal and academic plan on October 28th at 5:30 as well. On November 5th, the board will be engaging in another professional development session on the topic of governance versus management. And then on November 14th, we will be hosting our annual Family Engagement Day. That is a Saturday on November 14th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. via Zoom. We do encourage persons to sign up and register for the event. The information is on our website, rcsdk12.org. And also on November 19th, we will be hosting our annual employee recognition to recognize employees of the district who have been here 25 years or more. So those are our events.
Thank you. Hey, I do want to mention one other thing about Monroe. You know what's beautiful about the resurgence of Monroe? That the building was restored at the same time that you've seen the restoration. So it's a wonderful convergence of academic progress and improvement in the physical plant. It's a beautiful building. If you folks haven't seen the improvements that are over there and in our other schools through facilities modernization, to the Facilities Modernization Board, thank you. And to Mike Smith, our own Mike Smith, thank you for that good work, because our buildings are not only improving academically, as witnessed by East and Monroe, but also the physical plant at both those schools and other schools is really improving as well. Next item on our agenda is we have to approve the minutes from August 27th, September the 3rd, that was a special meeting. September the 10th was a special meeting, and September the 17th was also a special meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Thank you, Commissioner Powell. All those in favor of approving those minutes as I described indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right. Next item on the agenda is, folks, we try to make sure that people have an opportunity to speak their mind. And even in this COVID environment through Zoom. We put people in a special room. We have them come on camera and they offer up comments or concerns that they have. Just want to let folks know this is not the time where the board responds generally. Our superintendent has staff that take notes and tries to contact people if a response is necessary, but we just listen. I don't want you all to think that we don't care because we don't interact with folks. This is a time for citizens to speak their mind, and this is a time for us to listen. So, Madam Clerk, who do you got?
Okay, our first speaker is Ms. Karen Felosones, a parent in the district, speaking about the opening plans and special education needs. Karen, are you there with us? Can you hear us? Ms. Fellows?
I see you there.
Ms. Fellows, are you hearing us? Can you hear us?
Look like she can.
I am not certain that Ms. Fellows is hearing us. I do see that her audio and video is on. Ms. Fellows, can you hear? Okay, we're going to move on to Mr. Peter Birkin, a community member who is speaking about, I believe it was bullying in the district. Mr. Birkin? He's just connecting now.
Well, we're really having a tough time today.
Mr. Birkin, are you with us?
You think it's something on our end? Because it seems sort of strange.
I'm not sure. I do see that he exited the waiting room. He should be in the room now. Mr. Birkin? Mr. Birkin, are you with us? And he is in the room. His audio is turned on, but not video just yet.
Try Miss Fellows again. She's there.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Miss Fellows?
Ms. Fellows? We cannot hear you.
This is Mr. Birkin.
Oh,
Okay, Mr. Birkin, go ahead. You have 2
I would
minutes.
have a video on it. Everything is paused on my end. I finally got in from the waiting room, so just to give you a heads up. I'm trying to
Okay.
put the video on right now and it's not letting me on. So
And-
let
and
me.
Miss- I was going to say Miss Fellows is chatting that she can hear us now.
Okay, we cannot hear you. So I'm gonna put you back in the waiting room until we can figure out our technical difficulties with you. Mr. Birkin, I'm gonna give you your 2 minutes to speak. I'm not seeing where any video permissions are off for you. So I'm not sure why I'm not able to see you just yet,
Okay.
but you can go ahead.
Oh, I could go. Okay, very good. Is the superintendent here? Yes, Dr. Nelms and also our newest superintendent, because I want to just address the superintendent and the board members. Good to see you, Ricardo, Mr. Van White, everybody here. Awesome, awesome, and the new members too. My name's Peter Birkin. I'm a local businessman. I'm not a non-for-profit. I'm actually trying to be a solopreneur here in Rochester, New York. I've been trying to help out our district, our kids, our families and community as much as possible through attending events on Zoom, virtual events like most people are doing right now. I'm trying to help and inspire our kids, families, and communities to the best of my ability based on COVID and videos and Zoom stuff like this. So it's a great opportunity to be here in front of the board and Superintendent Nelms. Thank you. And let's see. Right now I'm doing some research, market research for parents. I'm trying to set up courses, 6 to 8 week courses around bully proof in our kids, family, and community. And I'm just reaching out to the community. My email is pbirkin, that's pbirkin, BURKIN, @gmail.com. This market research is just trying to ask questions to the parents to see what type of program they need around bully proofing their kids. And so that's about it. It's a pleasure to always be here in front of the board. It's been a while. I miss speaking in front of the board. And that's pretty much all I have today. The other thing is voting. I was trying to get help by someone with 3 master's degrees. I have a master's degree in education, and I'm not able to fill out the voting online because I moved, and because our students are very transient and their families, we got to make sure that our kids and families are up for voting because of the moving situation. So if I could just put out there that if we could get a real good handle technology-wise, where everybody could sign up to vote, because it's a very important election, as they all are, especially this year. So we can start getting equity in our community more than it's ever been. So I want to see Rochester City School District get back to where it was 20, 30 years ago when I first started the district in 1992. I know.
Burkett?
Yes, I'm done. Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you.
You too as well.
You
Ms.
want to try
Fellows, are
Miss?
you there with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
All
Yes, we
right.
can.
All right. I think it was a setting. So,
Okay.
all right. So I am Karen Fellows Sons. I'm the parent of a 5th grader at School 28 ASD program. I'm here to speak about the reopening plans and the impact of remote learning on special need children. There's been a number of studies by the Urban Institute and McKinsey documenting the negative effects of remote learning and saying how they disproportionately hit students of color and disabled students. One of their quotes were, "School shutdowns and distance learning can cause disproportionate learning losses for these students, compounding achievement gaps and leading to more students to drop out." So this could be a big hit on this, the city's already, problematic graduation rate. We know that remote learning is extremely difficult, if not ineffective, for special need children. I mean, I don't have to go and discuss that now. It's extremely difficult for single parents. It's extremely difficult for essential workers because you have to be your child's one-on-one. So, the special needs children's needs really have to be considered in reopening decision. We know in Monroe County, the suburban schools are open on a hybrid model, and we have not seen an increase in community spread of COVID due to school openings. In fact, there's no evidence that opening K through 12 schools contribute to community spread. Dr. Emily Oster of Brown University has reviewed COVID data and found no increase in COVID transmission above community non-school spread in communities that have opened their schools. We know as of October 15th, a week ago, that Monroe County had the lowest rates of COVID in communities over 500,000 in the US. This was from last week's coronavirus update by Dr. Mendoza and County Executive Bello. We know this week that rates are up, but they're still low. According to Dr. Mendoza's discussion today, the rates are most likely due to microclusters and not community spread. So we do not see a huge risk in community spread, especially in children that are in K through 12. So really, there's no good reason to keep kids, especially special needs kids, in the remote learning model. We find that remote learning definitely has the ability to cause more harm than good, and the risk of transmission of COVID is much less than the impact.
Ms. Fellows?
The impact of remote. Yep.
I'm so sorry, your time is up.
I'm done. So I said in closing, we know that the remote learning has an effect. We know that we have low rates. We know that there's really no good reason to keep the schools on a remote model.
Thank you for
Ms. Fellows.
participating tonight.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do you want to tell folks how they might submit something in writing or have the opportunity as Ms. Fellows or Mr. Birkin did today?
Sure. So I'm sharing on the screen for those at home. If you would like to address the board, please register by contacting the Board of Education office. You can call or you may email us at boardofelducation@rcsdk12.org by noon of the day of the meeting. We are also accepting comments that you may submit by emailing us at the email address provided. And if you do that by noon of the meeting, all our comments are sent to our board members and also uploaded to the website so that you are ensured that someone is reading and will be following up on your information. Just wanted to do a quick plug that the board is still looking for parent representatives to serve on board committees. We have the Excellence in Student Achievement Committee, which is our academic committee, or HR committee and or audit committee. We are looking for parents, grandparents, and or legal guardians of students attending the RCSD. So if you are interested, please visit our website, and there is a tab there under the Board of Education tab that will provide you with information on how to apply.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. Exceptionally important information for our parents and community members, that this is how you can and should get directly involved in our district. And one person who's decided to get involved, even though I'm sure she has a boatload of responsibilities in the classroom, is Ms. Simmons. Ms. Simmons, you are our student rep, Student Leadership Congress rep, and we rely on you to tell us what's going on in the student leadership community in the RCSD. Ms. Simmons?
Hi everyone, my name is Anaya Simmons and I am presenting the official report for the Student Leadership Congress's latest meeting on October 21st of 2020. On our agenda, we did introductions, a community check-in, an update on SM meetings and a community-wide youth leadership project. We updated the group on a community wellness check-in. We talked to a reopening focus group and had open dialogue. At this meeting, we had representatives from School Without Walls, School of the Arts, Northeast College High School, and World of Inquiry School in attendance. During our community check-in, student athletes on the call reported to be doing their best following social distancing regulations while trying to practice since fall sports are potentially pushed to a later season. We have a couple of students emailing Dr. Cotto about programs and ways for student athletes to have an athletic season for the remainder of the fall. School leaders on the call have also reported brainstorming socially distant activities to engage different grade levels. We presented to the Congress the upcoming SM meeting, Every Student Succeed At, to see if any members were interested in attending. The ESSA committee discusses how the district utilizes its grant funds. We also presented the community-wide youth leadership coalition run by Talolo Maya White of Rock the Future, supporting youth leaders and its developing new leadership abilities and providing unique opportunities for youth all over the city. We are inviting anyone who has interest to reach out with any questions or comments. A couple of members of the Student Leadership Congress, Tatiana, Stephen, and myself, explained our idea to host a district-wide community check-in with support staff and a rock restorative leader joining to hear students' questions, comments, and concerns about how the year is going so far. We will take questions pre-written from students on our Instagram page at RCSD-SLC and have an open dialogue towards the end of the event. This will be live streamed on Facebook to minimize any sort of distractions from Zoom bombers. This event will take place on November 4th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Based on the response from the check-in, we are considering making this a quarterly meeting for students. The suggestion to have a board member present was brought up during the planning meeting, and many responded positively. Would any of you be able to attend?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Francine, I don't know if you're listening, but yeah, I'll get it on my schedule. I heard a couple of people. I heard Ricardo, and I see Commissioner LeBron, and I see Commissioner Malloy. Can you make sure, Ms. Simmons, that you get that information, that date and time information? Have you ever talked to Francine?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, make sure you get that to her, and she'll make sure that every board member gets that date. And if they're available, they'll show up.
Great.
Thank
Continue. During this meeting, we met with the district's reopening team to hear their plan, give their opinions, suggestions, and questions. Many students had questions about building maintenance, teaching and learning from different cohorts of hybrid and online learning, parents' allowance to switch to hybrid, how many days of hybrid students would be able to attend, how morning chats would look, sanitation, new scheduling times, and mentoring of young students. The district's reopening team and Superintendent Myers-Smalls did their best to answer our questions as the time allowed and suggested creating another meeting separate from the wellness check-in on November 4th to continue answering students' questions, comments, and concerns. I have continued to work on the playground project in the Beechwood neighborhood with Leah Shresherin from Kaboom to possibly provide a place for students in that area to have a socially distant rope course adventure for their gym class. For this month, we have no comment on the board resolutions, and on behalf of the students, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. I know that, any questions for Ms. Simmons?
Could I just say something,
Sure.
President White, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
We are in the process of finishing up all our focus groups across the district. And I have to say, Melody and I were with the students with Mr. Jordan, and I believe Sheila Webster was as well. It was incredible. Their questions were so insightful. They were really passionate about what they thought. And so we are very excited to continue the conversation with them. And what I shared with them is that we shouldn't be surprised about this. This is the expectation. Our scholars are incredible, but what they brought to the table will really help to influence our question and answer document. And I just wanted to share again in this forum how incredible that experience was. And I want to thank the scholars who participated in the focus group yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments to Ms. Simmons? I do have a question, Ms. Simmons. I know you're very busy. You got a lot of responsibilities as a student and as a leader, but did you have a chance, did we get you the resolutions, and will you be prepared to issue an advisory vote today? If not, that's cool.
Unfortunately, I will not be able to.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, next item on the agenda is our Bilingual Education Council. I understand there's a written report, but I don't know if their representative is here. Is she here? Marina, is she here?
No, she's not in the room. She was invited, and as I said, she did submit a written report that is available for persons to read, also on board docs, and board members have been sent it, but not in the room tonight.
So
All
I
right.
just want to clarify though, because the last time I did get a follow-up message that I think their understanding is that they're submitting for someone to read it out loud on the record. So if we can just follow up so that we're I don't know if they can be here for technology reasons, whatever the case may be, but if they're submitting it with the expectation that we're reading it on the record, then we should get that clarified.
Kalia, can you follow up on that?
I
To find
will.
out what
I
their
will. I know
expectation is?
we were in correspondence with them this afternoon.
Okay.
And I will
Because
find out.
if they're, yes, go ahead.
White, Melody, Deputy Superintendent Melody Martinez Davis, Glenn Vanderwater, and I can give a brief update because we all attended, if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
So Melody and Glenn, if you would just come on screen. We attended their meeting in person at the Trenton Pamela Jackson Center. They had a great turnout, and we had the opportunity just to really talk about our data, our bilingual programs at schools, and to really give an in-depth review of who the principal was, who the staff were, and what the programs entailed. I did all of the elementary schools, and Melody did the secondary schools. And then Glenn had an opportunity to talk about our technology and the remote learning. They were very appreciative for us to come and visit. And it was shared that they hadn't seen a superintendent in a while at the meetings. They were very, very grateful. I did halfway through share with them that it was incredibly humbling experience, as I think I was the only one, or maybe one of two people who did not speak Spanish as my native language. And it reminded me of the importance of us having instructional flexibility and instructional patience with our students who don't speak English as their first language. But they were very gracious, and I was very appreciative and honored to have that opportunity. Glenn or Melody, I'm not sure if there's anything you wanted to add for the commissioners.
No, it was a great meeting, and we had probably over 30 participants were in attendance, which is great to see. Some of our parents, had some concerns regarding their technology, their MiFi, and Mr. Vanderwater was able to answer them and refer them as to how we can continue to support them. Any other concerns that they brought up, we followed up on them. But it was great to be a part of the Bilingual Education Council and see so many parents that want to be a part of their children's education.
And I'll just echo what Melody had talked about a little bit in terms of getting feedback and how to better support all of our students in this remote learning. And it was great to get that feedback and be there with them.
Okay. Thank you all for that update. Next, we're going to move to board reports. I'm going to skip around a little bit here. Commissioner Malloy is having some technical difficulties. We want to make sure we get her in before her computer takes complete control. Commissioner Malloy?
Thank you, I appreciate that. If my computer dies midstream, I apologize. The governance committee met as a committee of the whole on Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. Topics discussed during that meeting included our discussion on board goals, and we focused primarily on the development of metrics as a follow-up from the board's goal-setting retreat with Sherry Johnson from the Monroe County School Boards Association. The board voted to adopt the following goals for the 2021 school year. First, improve the fiscal condition of RCSD, increase academic achievement, and equity. The overwhelming feedback in the October 6th meeting indicated that much work was still to be done to finalize a document that the entire board could stand behind. It's also important for the board to feel comfortable sharing with the superintendent as she moves forward with the development of her own goals and metrics for the district as part of the strategic plan. As such, the governance committee added this discussion as an agenda item on the October 13th and 20th special meetings to further gather input and insights. The board goals and metrics have now been vetted several times by the board, and they're now ready for consideration. The governance committee requests a motion to accept the 2021 board goals and metrics. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm a nay.
Okay, that means the motion does not pass.
4-1, it pass.
Yeah, it passes. Yeah, 4-1.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 second. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A discussion on the 2021 board professional development schedule was our next item. While the details regarding facilitation and time and date are still to be finalized, it was established that moving forward, the board will be participating in informational sessions focused on 6 categories throughout the year: finance, governance, academics, operations, interpersonal collaboration, and legal. We've already begun working from this schedule, and we held our first session on the capital improvements plan on October 15th with board members. I'd like to give a special thanks to Chief Operations Officer Michael Schmidt, and our next session will be conducted by General Counsel Carl Christoph on the topic of board and superintendent governance versus management. So the governance committee requests a motion to accept the 2021 board goals, the development schedule. My bad. I need a motion to approve the board professional development schedule. Can I get a motion?
Second.
All in favor of the
Aye.
schedule? And it's an aye for me.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell, I don't know if she recorded your vote.
It was a yes.
I'm an aye too, Kalia.
Thank you. All right, next we had a discussion on the board orientation manual. So this was entertained on the October 6th meeting or during the October 6th meeting. Commissioners were presented with the table of contents and have agreed that the document is comprehensive and will be an adequate resource for our newly onboarded board members. The new board orientation manual will also now be available virtually on board docs beginning on October 31st. So the governance committee requests a motion to accept the board new member orientation manual. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Thank you. All in favor of the new board orientation manual?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't
Looking
hear.
for,
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you so much, commissioners. Our next governance meeting is going to be Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. And that concludes the governance report. Thank you.
Kudos to you, Commissioner Malloy. You know, we speed through these motions and we don't hear what's been happening, but there's a lot of work that happened. The manual, the board goals, and as you know, because we had to adjourn it a couple times to rework it. So, and we've been working on that manual and revising it over many meetings. So thank you to you. And most importantly, I know you would say it's the staff.
Yes, definitely. I cannot give them enough thanks for that. Thank you so much, Kalia and Francine. And I just want to thank my fellow commissioners, those of you who offered that valuable feedback. Much appreciated. Thank you.
All right. And we'll go ahead and do finance and resource allocation next. Commissioner LeBron.
Yes. The Finance Committee convened on Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 as Committee of the Whole via Zoom. The Finance Committee recommends the approval of the district's unaudited September 2020 financial report and the quarterly change order report from July through September 2020. Can I get a motion to move those now?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You got that, Kalia? Okay. The
oops,
Finance
I'm so
Committee.
sorry, I was muted. Can you just say who seconded one last time? Thank you.
It was Commissioner Powell who seconded it.
Thank
It was
you.
Commissioner Adams who motioned it, and everyone voted aye.
Thank you.
The Finance Committee discussions during the August meeting focused on a variety of topics and several discussions were entertained. The Finance Committee conducted a brief resolution review to vet the resolutions with fiscal impact that are slated for consideration in tonight's October 22nd business meeting. CFO Carlene Pierce presented to the board the state of the district's finance as at the October 2020 meeting. She started by noting several areas of concern for the 2021 budget and the associated estimated cost impact. She also advised about the dilemma with state aid and provided a summary of the facts surrounding what the district can expect regarding anticipated payments. Following this, Ms. Pierce also provided details regarding transportation aid and expenses. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, she reiterated the plans for moving the district forward through short-term action plan accommodations. This conversation is expected to continue in the next November Finance Committee meeting, where we will gain further understanding of how the district will address its funding challenges. State Monitor Dr. Shelley Jallo provided a high-level overview of the anticipated fiscal plan and development. She advised about several components making up the plan and noted her fiscal observations during her residency in the district thus far. Dr. Jallo has raised the points of declining enrollment, high chronic absenteeism rate, inaccurate budget projections, and financial discipline. Following this, she provided additional recommendations and fiscal improvement plan goals with the committee. Dr. Jallo will be presenting an overview of the academic plan in the next ESA meeting and will be submitting the plan to the board in early November. The committee also discussed the development of a budget transfer policy, Policy 6150, and will be revisiting the parameters of this potential policy in the next finance meeting. Lastly, the committee reviewed the 2021-2022, that's a mouthful, budget calendar. This is the first time in several years that the budget calendar has presented this early to the committee. Built within this calendar are several opportunities to engage with the public on the district's budget and for the board to have increased conversations with the administration as well. While certain components of the calendar may be updated as we get closer to March, we are pleased that the major components of the budget calendar has been finalized. And as a result, the Finance Committee is requesting a motion to approve the 2021-2022 budget calendar. Can I get a motion for that?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next Finance Committee meeting is November 17, 2020, where we will present additional information both on the deficit and the plan to address it. Thank you.
Okay, that would leave Excellent Student Achievement Committee, which there is no report. They will meet in November. I think we'll get a report in November. And the Policy Committee report, that is coming forthwith. It should be in your mail and posted on board docs. It's a very short one. Is that right? Ms. Wade?
Correct. And then we have audit, which Commissioner Powell will do.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I don't see that. Commissioner Powell, go ahead.
Thank you. My report should be posted to board docs if it hasn't been already. But to recap, we met as a committee of the whole via Zoom on Tuesday, October 13th. The committee received a status update on the financial audit for year ending June 30th, 2020, which is being performed by Friedmatic. Selected financial schedules required by the City of Rochester were also shared with the board at that time. The board received a status report on work performed by our Office of Auditor General. The Auditor General discussed 3 audit reports, including the building safety audit, the textbook management follow-up audit, and the professional contract audit. All 3 audits were advanced unanimously to the full board for this meeting. I would like to request at this time a motion to formally accept these 3 audits.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous, 5-0. The board will receive the draft comprehensive annual financial report, the CAFR, in mid-November. And the final CAFR will be presented to the board at the next audit committee meeting, which is December 8th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. Friedmatic will be there to present its review of the results of the financial audit. That concludes my audit report. I do have another report, very, very briefly. The New York State School Board Association annual meeting is coming up very soon. It's October 27 through October 29, which means there's also a business meeting where we need a voting member for the resolutions portion of that business meeting. I'm happy to do it, but as a member of NYSBA, it's better if there's someone else from this board representing the board. I leave it to you, Mr. President, to determine how that's going to happen, but I can forward the details of credentialing to our clerk, and you can appoint whoever you see fit.
Sounds good. We'll deal with that offline. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that would leave my report now. So we had a meeting, I think it was in governance, to talk about how, whether we wanted to change certain things in our action plan. And one of those things that we talked about was the frequency in which I provide updates about my calendar. I think most people concluded that the calendar just going out every week wasn't very helpful. Most people probably never read the email because it just had dates and didn't provide any details. So I indicated that what I would do is provide during my president's report some kind of summary about the details within that. You're still going to get the calendar. You probably don't have the time to read it, but on occasion I'll take a few weeks worth of activities and attempt to verbally summarize them. And I'm going to do this quickly. And if you want to follow up with me on any of the stuff or any of the details that I don't mention, feel free to do that. For example, one of the things I did is I went to the Rock the Future. We're a partner to Rock the Future. Dr. Meyer-Small, Dr. Sean Nelms is actually on the leadership team there. So I've tried to commit to Jackie Whitfield to be present whenever possible. I did want to note that Rock the Future has an annual New York State Rochester School District report card that comes out. That report card is going to come out relatively soon. I think the 2019 one came out and it indicated that our graduation rate was 63%. They always report our graduation rate. You can find that report card on rockthefuture.org. You would also note when you read that report, that 2019 report, it indicates that they had a goal. Rock the Future set a goal for us to have a graduation rate of 80% by August 2022. Well, we're within striking distance, to be quite honest. We could conceivably get there. And the reason why we know that is we look at what happened with East and Monroe today. They're certainly contributing to our progress forward. East had a graduation rate of 77.5. I'm sure Dr. Nels refers to say that's 78%. Monroe had a graduation rate of 81%. So it is entirely possible, given those numbers, in terms of those our larger schools, in terms of the district generally. I think this year, unconfirmed by the state of New York just yet, but we've never been wrong on our numbers. The graduation rate for August 2020 is 68.2%. That's for August 2020. So we have a good 2 years to get close to 80. Our pace has been about 4 percentage points, 3 or 4 percentage points a year. But when you look at it like that, you don't really get the full effect of what is really happening to our children. These are thousands of children that are graduating on time. And there's a lot of people that we didn't get to thank today beyond East and Monroe that are part of that. But we're on our way to do that. The next thing that I wanted to note was that, let's see, we did have a press conference regarding our graduation rates. Of course, you know, I invited everybody to participate. There was a lot of good press coverage on that. And that is important, not to hold up any particular board member, but given the bad news that this district is constantly out there about this district from other sources, it really is appropriate and timely whenever we can have some good news. And thankfully, most of the media, all the media outlets covered it, and the news was generally good. As you all may know, if you've looked on the calendar past, I participate in the Council of Great City Schools weekly meeting. I'm a member of their steering committee. I go to all kinds of meetings with the Council of Great City Schools. You all who know that organization know it's a very powerful and important organization. They are very tight, depending on who's in the White House. A guy by the name of Michael Cashley is really connected really well. But they talk about COVID in their weekly meetings. They talk about federal funding and litigating. They sign on to lawsuits that pushes the administration forward. You all probably heard about what Secretary DeVos did when confronted with a federal court decision. She backed off on her decision to give more money to private schools, which means that's more money for us. So that was welcome news. You know, when we think about the money that we invest in Council for Great City Schools, that is an organization that really does a lot of work, some of it behind the scenes, some of it directly. But I thought it was important that I share that with you. As you all know, we've been doing interviews for Commissioner Shepard's successor. Also, within this 2-week period, I met with the Take It Down Planning Committee. They are a hodgepodge of a number of organizations, including the organization that a number of organizations, I would just say. Quite a while ago, some of you may remember that they tried to shut down our board meetings, and fortunately, they weren't too successful in that. We were able to go forward, but I did have conversations with some of the leadership. And about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, I committed to them personally that I would meet with them on a quarterly basis, and I've done that for the last about 2 years. The meeting the other night was about 3 hours long, as you can imagine. There is some tension sometimes during those meetings. You all are welcome to those meetings. They ask that board members come, and in the past, board members have been able to come, but our staff will make sure that you get notice of those meetings because they do want you there. The productive thing that came out of the meeting is they really want, as you all know, to go forward with their advisory committee report on racism. I know Dr. Myers is very much involved. I think one of your deputies is involved in that conversation. I know she met with them very recently. That what I could see from the emails is that they were very pleased with at least having the opportunity to have that meeting go forward. And so the administration probably will providing you some update on how that is going to progress. I know Dr. Myers has told me in separate conversations, the intention is to synthesize that work into the strategic plan. So we all look forward to that happening. I went via the World Wide Web to the Council of Great City Schools conference. You know, normally we're doing all this traveling. We don't do that nowadays. We do everything via Zoom. I didn't go to all the meetings, but I was struck by Laura Bush, who was one of their keynote speakers, and some of the stuff that she had to say. There are constant meetings. As a matter of fact, I'll have Francine provide you all, because those Friday meetings are open to everybody. It's a really good resource for folks. During the conference, I actually facilitated a conference discussion on what was called infusing equity into urban education. We discussed, quite frankly, the challenges we've had with our African American Studies Department and trying to get some traction there. I listened and heard about other districts that are doing good things with advanced placement and graduation rates. Also at the Council of Great City Schools, there was discussion about federal funding and progress that has been made there. Additionally, you all know we reinvigorated, different subject, we reinvigorated a 3-on-3-on-3. I see Commissioner Adams yawning. I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but I'm giving y'all exactly what you want and what you really deserve. You do need to hear some of this detail because you can't be every place, and I should be sharing you some of this detail. But we reinvigorated the 3-on-3-on-3. And that will, in the future, include Commissioner Adams, Commissioner LeBron, and myself. This was restarted because of the strong leadership of our former colleague, Malik Evans. And it was good. I know folks had to feel good about seeing the county there. There's a new county executive, and that meant that the county is going to be, I think, more involved in solving some of the problems that our district has, because they don't all start just inside the district. There was discussion about an information sharing agreement and getting that to move forward, and getting out ahead on the 2021-2022 budget, which we did last year, but I think there's a real desire to do even better this year. As you all know, I sent a letter to Joe Morelli with your permission after having a conversation with our congressman about CARES Act 2. You all can follow the news as I do. The news appears to be good. We don't know where it's going to end up, but as you all know, Speaker Pelosi agreed to extend her deadline beyond Tuesday. If that CARES Act money comes in, you can pretty much guarantee Rochester, being one of the poorest communities in the country, will receive a sizable amount of money. To be clear, that CARES Act 2, if it passes, and there are some hurdles left, it is specifically to address schools and the challenges that we have. So let's keep praying and keep our fingers crossed about that. And finally, but certainly not least, I want to thank Superintendent Nelms for inviting me and my colleagues. I know Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Malloy were there. That was actually a beautiful balloon release ceremony at East High School. I got a chance, because I had not had it, to talk to the mom, give her a brief hug, and just hear all the wonderful things that people had to say about Ms. Young. So that is my report. I won't do this often. I'll try to gather together a number of dates to give you a summary. Other than that, keep on checking out the emails for the periodic summaries of where I was. If you have questions about them, ask me, but we won't do this every business meeting, but when I feel we have enough dates together where I can offer you some description of what I've been doing and where I've been going and what I've been hearing, we will do that. And if that is not satisfactory to you all, let me know, call me up offline and we can talk about it. Any questions about that stuff? All right, so then let's move on to the next item on our agenda, which is superintendent reports. Superintendent Myers-Small.
Sure, good evening. Thank you, President White. Good evening to our commissioners, to our cabinet members, and certainly to those who are watching tonight. That is not the correct PowerPoint, Kalia. That's August. So as we're waiting for it, as President White mentioned, we were a little bit late to the meeting tonight because of Hispanic Heritage Month. It was my first one, and certainly very beautifully done. I certainly want to thank the board for acknowledging student achievement and the community members who have contributed so much to our schools as a part of Hispanic Heritage Month. We had a performance tonight that was shown on screen, and that was absolutely incredible, and it was very well done. And as Marlene Blocker from East shared earlier, I wanted to get up out of my seat and dance and clap because it did feel like it was a live performance. Additionally, I would be remiss if I certainly didn't acknowledge Commissioner LeBron, Melody Martinez Davis, Deputy Superintendent, Marisol Ramos Lopez, Chief of Communications, Elizabeth Reyes, Executive Director of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, for their daily and regular contributions to our students, to our families, and to our staff. So congratulations and thank you for all that you do. Next, we'll talk about joining the challenge. Many individuals in the Rochester City School District have accepted the Racial Equity Challenge. And that is, from what I've heard, that over 60,000 individuals in Monroe County, and I'm assuming across the state and other places, have agreed to sign on. This is a partnership with the United Way, and it gives us an opportunity to develop a deeper understanding of how inequity and racism affect our lives and our community. Staff will be who have signed up will be receiving daily emails starting tomorrow, October 23rd, that will focus on a variety of topics, including understanding bias, levels of racism, housing inequities, and building a race equity culture. These daily emails will provide links to recommended articles, videos, podcasts, reflections, and more. And at the conclusion of the challenge in November, Elizabeth Reyes, our Executive Director of Equity, Inclusion, and Social Emotional Support, will host a Zoom forum with staff to discuss their experiences. So I am joining the challenge and I'm looking forward to participating. The second part of my report, I'd just like to go over the survey results with the board commissioners and those who are watching. As you are aware, we opened up a survey that was administered to students. So we had a student-specific survey. We had a faculty and staff survey, and then we had family, caregiver, and parent survey. 1,200 students in grades 6 through 12 participated in the survey. A little over 2,800 staff members participated in the survey, and a little over 1,500 family members participated. And just a little bit of background information, the survey was administered online. And I just want to share that the district does value the feedback from all those who participated, which is why we created an open survey, because we wanted especially to engage as many families as possible. So the survey was shared on multiple platforms such as social media to really help break down any barriers that may have prevented participation, especially at a time when so many of our families have limited access to private communication modes, such as personal email. And after tonight, after this presentation, we will make the results available on our Rochester City School District website. So you can see just the breakdown in grades 6 through 12, a pretty even distribution with the spike though of 9th graders participating in the survey. And then you can see with the student survey and with the family survey, you can see that there was pretty much an even distribution between the other grades, pre-K through 12, ranging between 120 responses and 204. But you can see 342 families had a child in kindergarten. The next survey item speaks specifically to remote learning and how successful was remote learning. You can see with the chart on the left, which is reflects data responses pulled from the student survey, that almost 80% of our students said that things were either going well or that they had some problems, but teachers and staff have been helpful. 72% almost of families said things were going well, or some had problems, but teachers and staff have been helpful. And then staff, just a little under 80% of our staff said that things were going well or had some problems, but that teachers and staff have been helpful. On the next slide, it speaks to if the, as far as the CDC guidelines and comfort level of attending school in person, at least in a hybrid model for after 10 weeks. So you can see that students, almost a little over 63% said they were either very confident or confident about returning to school. And as I mentioned earlier, when we met with our Student Leadership Congress, they were very animated and adamant and passionate about returning to school. However, families who took that, almost 60% said they will not send their children back to school, and they are not confident about returning their child back to school. And again, I just want to make sure that this is, just represents the individuals who took the survey and participated. And then 64% of our staff members said that they were not confident of returning to work. I do want to make sure that I insert the caveat here, however, not feeling confident versus not being medically unable are two different things, but you can just see what the comfort level is between our three stakeholder groups. On the next slide, you can see an indication of concerns between students, families, and staff. So we asked the question, if schools were to reopen after 10 weeks, what areas of concern do you have about returning to school in the hybrid model? And you can see amongst all three of those groups that the highest ranked question is the health and safety. So masks, hand sanitizer, PPE, excuse me. And so that is the number one concern. But you can also see with staff, 62% also indicated schedules around screen time and asynchronous learning. On the next slide, we focus on communication and asked about the adequacy of communication. 91% of our students indicated that they were either satisfied and or there have been some problems with communications, but teacher and school staff have been helpful. And just a little under 87% of families indicated the same thing. On the next slide, we address the question about not physically returning to school buildings and that we should continue with remote learning. You can see that it's pretty evenly distributed for our students, with 30% of our students saying they disagree that we should not physically return, whereas almost 40% of families strongly agree that students should not physically return to school buildings and the district should continue with remote learning. Next, we address transportation because, as you know, many of our students are very heavily reliant upon transportation. And you can see that almost 36% of our students agree that they are comfortable riding a bus to and from school with the regular number of student passengers as long as CDC guidelines are being followed, whereas almost 32% of our families strongly disagree with their comfort level of their child being transferred to and from school. On the next slide, we ask students first about just their belief of whether school should resume after 10 weeks, where students go to school, attend school in a hybrid model, in person and remote, with procedures in place. And you can see that 41% of our students believe that in person, and then another 20 strongly agree, with almost 24% agree. So overwhelmingly, you can see that students are interested in returning back to school. And just a reminder, this is responses from students in grades 6 through 12. Then let's talk about impact of remote learning if we continued. Families said 66 58.2% families said that there would either be no impact, no change, or some impact, but it would not change daily behavior. And then families also indicated that 31% of them indicated that they strongly disagree. So almost a third that in-person school should resume after 10 weeks. Here is just an indication to show you the breakdown of who participated in the staff survey as far as bargaining unit or other units. So predominantly, almost 75% were RTA members, which is our teaching unit. 13.1% were from the Rochester area paraprofessional unit. Bente, which is our support staff, 6%. ASAR, which is our administrative unit, almost 6%. And then a small percentage is other. So that could be the superintendent's group, the board group, exempt group, et cetera. And then if you look at it through where our staff work, and again, remember predominantly it is teachers who responded, but you can see the breakdown that it is over half were from elementary settings, almost 25% were elementary, and then you can see high school, and then a smaller number of central office staff. And then we asked staff about the challenges that they were facing with remote learning. 71% of our staff said technology is a challenge when they are facing with remote learning and remote working. 58% of our staff said technology is a support that has assisted them with and their students with remote learning. And again, I'll have to continue to give a shout out to Glenn Vanderwater and his team for just their Herculean efforts. And 42% of our staff said that fully remote learning would be the best model that would meet the needs of students. So again, we will post these results. Next steps is that we are finalizing the focus groups, and we will collate all of those responses. We conducted a presentation, a similar presentation to each of the groups, and we asked them to reflect periodically through the report to indicate what they noticed, what they wondered, and what particular questions that they had. We'll, in the ESA board subcommittee meeting next Tuesday, we'll have additional conversations with the board, and then we will meet with the union presidents next week as well, all for ASAR, RTA, RAP, and Bente to have further discussions. I think the board also knows that RTA also administered a survey, and we can make sure that we get those results to you. They were sent to me. The final thing that I wanted to address is just on behalf of Sean and I, we want to thank each commissioner on the Board of Education for their tireless commitment to our students, to their family, to our families, and to our staff. Our board commissioners participate in numerous meetings. You heard President White give a report with what his activities were as president, but they attend meetings. They review hundreds of pages of reports and documents, and they analyze Excel spreadsheets. And so we just want to share with you that you certainly have one of the most important responsibilities in our district, and that certainly is the oversight and education of our youth. So Sean and I, because you know that both of us are bakers and cooks.
All right now.
So we have special treats that we will make sure that we get each commission.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
We just want to say thank you, and it's something that we both, at least
you're welcome,
we self-proclaim believe that we're good at. So
I might try to poison my batch, so I just want to make sure
don't even try
your batch, Leslie.
So we just want to say thank you, and that concludes my report. Happy National School Board Recognition Week.
Wow. So when are we gonna get these treats?
You just let us know, and we'll make it happen, Captain.
Tonight.
Okay, not tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, as soon as possible. I see that there is a question other than when are we going to get the food, Commissioner
Sure.
LeBron?
Yes, I actually have a couple of questions. So
Sure.
I'm gonna go back to the presentation.
Sure.
One, I appreciate you mentioning, Dr. Myers, that the survey was open with intentionality so that anyone can take it.
Mhm.
I did share some concerns around that because I know someone that had someone in Korea take the survey just to kind of demonstrate perhaps why there should have been a little bit more, some more security measures in place around that. And that does lead me to start thinking about ways in the future of how we do conduct these type of surveys. And I know that our students have student numbers as IDs. And that's not something I personally would recommend because I always have to look up my daughters and I feel like I have enough information and numbers to remember, but maybe in the future, at least having parents identify their student's name and then figuring out a way to kind of run the results of the names to our database of actual students. And that's kind of more of a Glenn type of analyzing. However, I do think it's important to recognize that could be some level of error with some of the results from this survey based on the fact that it was so open and anybody could take it.
Could I just say this though, Commissioner LeBron?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've been in some of the focus groups. The responses that we've received though pretty much mirror what you see in the surveys. It's been interesting, and I know that's even a smaller sample size, but it's been interesting to me. But your point is very well noted.
Thank you. And then just a question on clarification on what the question of daily behavior, the other feedback too, before we get to that slide for the students, the one that presented the results for go back to the other one. The other question, the other feedback that I did receive for a number of individuals was the opportunity to have an additional comment box. And some folks felt like the survey was just kind of focused only on a yes or no type of selection, not having an opportunity to give feedback. So I just want to put that out there for future surveys. But what is meant for a 6th through 12th grader by change in daily behavior? I was a little confused as to how a student would answer or self-assess the changes for themselves in daily behavior. And let me just also explain, right? You guys know,
Where are you?
One at home, and I've noticed a change in behavior because she's only home, and it has not been the most positive of changes. But I'm just wondering, from a 6th through 12th grade perspective, how they would perceive that question or answer that.
That's something that certainly we can reach out to our principals at the secondary level. I'll actually have them first thing in the morning tomorrow, so we can engage them with that.
Yeah, and then if you could just email me, that's fine too.
Sure.
And then I just wanted to understand on one of the last slides, the bar graphs, kind of the totalities of those combined is more than 100%. So just was trying to understand that as well.
Because some folks could be split between locations and buildings and things of that, right? So you
were able to answer, okay, they have multiple options.
Yes.
To select from. Thank you. That was it. I just want the clarification on that.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I had myself muted. Any other questions for Superintendent Myers? I don't see any. In all seriousness, thank you, Sean and Leslie, for the recognition. This is tough work, especially in this district. And so we look forward to the cookies and whatever else you're going to hook us up with, because we deserve it. Okay, Dr. Nelms, you're next.
I know we have the presidential debates in about an hour, so I'm going to be quick.
Yes,
hopefully we can get there.
Thank you.
So we're just going to go quickly through the slide. So next slide, please. Just again, good evening, commissioners and our communities. A brief overview of what's happening at East and what's to come. Dr. Myers already mentioned that our collective district is part of the 21-day Racial Equity Challenge, which actually starts tomorrow. I encourage individuals, organizations, and individuals to participate in this. It should be 21 days of introspection and knowledge sharing and gaining, and hopefully it will transform how we engage with one another socially and politically. Next. I also want to highlight the work with the Monroe County curriculum continues, just to remind the board and the community. Shortly after the death of Daniel Prude, we meaning Monroe County Superintendents, partnered with the University of Rochester Center for Urban Education Success to start creating curriculum focused on the 1964 uprising in Rochester to present day. Of course, bringing in historical elements from the time leading up to the '64 rebellion. We are focused on grades 8 and 11. It was agreed upon by all of the county superintendents that we would have these units available and taught and implemented to all kids throughout Monroe County. To be honest with you, this is something that I tried to work with superintendents on for a long time. And sometimes you have to take opportunities like we've had this last 4 years and to really promote the importance of equity in places that perhaps did not understand its importance previously. So the curriculum that's being built will be units around housing and education and employment opportunities and redlining, healthcare disparities, list goes on and on and on. We're gonna start with some pilots in February, and then we're gonna build and continue to build those as part of the work. We're also pulling culturally rich and relevant lessons from the East units. We'll be sharing those throughout the county as well, so that districts who are not necessarily focused on the '64 on, but how can they enhance daily instruction outside of the these type of social justice issues? How do you embed culturally relevant content in math and science and within your daily lessons? How do you do it beyond just history, and how's it look in the arts, et cetera? So we've pulled so far about 90 lessons and units that we've developed from 612. We're gonna be sharing those with the county also. It's really important that the curriculum that we've been creating, that the board has paid for, the intent was to share that not just within RCSD, but also throughout the county and any district nationally. And there's interest nationally around some of the work that's being done in the units that's been developed. Next, please. Also, this is very, very, very exciting. As many of you know, we've been pushing hard to get the University of Rochester and its admissions office to aggressively recruit within our community. We have done this for all colleges, but U of R is the most rigorous college and university within our community. And so we now have a few pipelines and pathways for entry that we are solidifying. One pipeline is to continue to enhance the TLI program at East and make that available to as many students who want it to gain entry into the University of Rochester. Another pipeline is to find undergraduate students who are looking for a master's program to have a pipeline from an undergraduate program into the University of Rochester at a severely discounted rate for their graduate studies in an attempt to kind of grow our own and have those individuals come back here. And I've worked with a number of donors. One of the greatest benefits of the U of R is access to people who have a lot of wealth. And so I am working with a few donors to create scholarships that are specific for RCSD students, not just East, RCSD students. There's already the Promise scholarships for all students, but we know that there are other costs associated with university life that students will need, and as well as students who pursue graduate and postdoc type of studies. So this is something that we worked really hard on. There's a new admissions director at the University of Rochester who has hit the ground running, and he has made this one of his priorities. Whereas I would honestly say in the past, it hasn't necessarily risen to where it should. So we have donors involved, we have admissions involved, the schools of education are signing off, and I'm so proud of the university for creating a solid pipeline for students from the RCSD to gain interest into the University of Rochester. But their focus obviously is the EPO and making sure that we continue to track and monitor students. Special shout out to Lorna Washington, who is actually leading this work, and she is pulling kids in 8th grade and making sure we're in middle school, but really focusing on 8th grade and getting those kids in the transition from 8 to 9, and then tracking and monitoring these kids through high school. The first cohort of kids we identified 4 years ago are now juniors. And so we wanted to have a bunch of kids go through the entire system and they are juniors this year. And so next year, those will be the kids that we will provide support. I should also say that these dollars are also going to be used to give students mentoring on campus when they arrive and throughout their studies there for 4 years. So it's not like we're going to take kids, give them a shot, and then dump them at a rigorous university. There's going to be support and pathways through a few departments on the university's campus also. Very excited about this. You'll hear a lot more about this as the year continues. Special shout out. I had a chance to, one of my favorite parts of the week is when I get a chance to shadow our principals and administrators and pop around classrooms to actually see instruction. You know, we pick a few teachers, we go in and we watch classroom teaching. I have been impressed with what I've seen and the consistency in application. So part of the summer PL and the beginning of the school year is the teachers identified a set of classroom models they're going to all try to use so they can all get smart and get better at it. And they introduce a new one every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and they'll just continue to kind of add their tool bank. And popping in this last classroom visit I've done, popping through math room lessons from 6 to 12 and seeing very similar application of instruction was incredible. I got a chance to see an amazing science teacher do a lab activity with yeast. And I asked her, I said, so let's talk about, you know, the equipment and how is this done? And I was reminded by the teacher and the principal that they created these lab kits before school started. They identified what the needs were, got those out to students. And then his teacher said that, you know, one of the things that she did in addition to that is the kids who could not get those lab materials, she went to their home and delivered them so that every kid can participate in the lab experience. Today, I got a tweet from one of our music teachers, and the kids are making beats online. You can see that on Twitter. Another teacher was doing something else with science. Like, I'm just so amazed by the work of our teachers and our staff and our administrators and making sure that kids are engaged in the learning experience. And it's something that I look forward to doing weekly. So I want to special shout out to them for really creating digitally enriched learning experiences. I have one more slide. I spoke to that. Oh, this is the virtual lessons learned. So we're trying to figure out like what happens when we go back to, you know, fully engaged in-person learning. And we're trying to make sure we are documenting lessons that are learned during this time. One of the lessons that we learned is we had our highest rate of parent-teacher conferences that we've had in a long time. And so we're rethinking how do we use digital learning for parent conferences and not, you know, forcing parents to come in. We're seeing attendance for some subgroup of kids really increase due to COVID, and what happens with like daily attendance and chronic absenteeism. So we're continuing to document lessons learned through this virtual learning experience so that the things that work don't go away when we go back to in-person, that we actually take those and enhance those and modify them meaningfully. Okay, next slide. And again, this is something that Leslie and I both spoke to earlier today, and the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration prior to the board meeting was incredible. Thank you, Maicanita Perez, our assistant principal, for leading this charge within our building. She's providing a ton of resources throughout the entire year. One such event is labeled beneath the flag there, and the set of flags there. And there's some national opportunities. And this one here is called Fostering Quality School Leadership to Inspire. And this is one that staff will be tuning into to hear more about how we support students, you know, academically and socially throughout this month and remaining months also. And that concludes my presentation, I believe. Thank you.
Dr. Nelms, real quick, for those who didn't know, there was some Facebook conversation about a local store merchandising East material. And I know some folks didn't seem to be too happy about that. They seemed to be concerned about somebody taking advantage of the brand. But I thought I posted a response, and I don't do it often, and I couldn't find it. But I wanted you to know, and the community know, that while I get the legal side of that, that's actually a very good sign, you know, for people to be trying to profit off from your brand. I mean, you go into any one of these stores, and my understanding, this was like a national chain, that you go into any one of these stores, for example, you go into Wegmans, and you'll see Brighton Barons, which was my alma mater, because that's what people want. So without talking about the legalities of it and whether they were, you know, profiting off from it, I felt it was important to say, hey, that's not a bad sign. Now, again, if we could just get the word out with respect to what's happening at Monroe, and some of this is already happening with SODA and School Without Walls and all these other schools, that's actually a good thing. And I just briefly, because there was some chatter about that on the internet, what was your thoughts about that?
If you're going to support our kids when they're doing well, support them when they're not doing well too. So my thought about that is I respect the fact that they are without permission and or any financial benefit to the school. So our here, I do think that good press is good press, and promoting our kids are good. But I hope that companies and businesses have that same level of support when schools are not doing well.
Amen.
And I can tell you that 5 years ago, some of those schools were removing kids from the stores.
Amen. That's true.
So I would say it's appreciated. I think it's great for the community. It's not a financial thing. For me, I know where we were 5-6 years ago, and I know how the community responded to Kids at Ease. I'm happy that they're responding to them positively now. But these are the same kids who had the same passion and same beliefs 5 years ago. They're just now in a system where they're able to do the work that they deserve. So I have mixed emotions there, as you know. I commented that on Facebook too. I do thank individuals for supporting us, but now it's time to cut the check. All right, that's it.
I understand that the Bilingual Council wanted to have their report read. Commissioner LeBron, did you get a copy of it?
I did. I'm
you
ready.
Want to go ahead and read it for it? Thanks.
Yes, I'm going to read it word for word how it's written. So I'm not Midna, obviously, but it says, good evening, buenas noches. I am Midna Gonzalez, the president of the Bilingual Education Council. Thank you for this opportunity to share some of the council's activities. We are bilingual parents, community-based organizations, and educators representing and advocating for the educational rights to a quality bilingual education for our students in the district. The council continues to actively advocate for equity in bilingual education and supporting the immense needs of our bilingual students and families during the pandemic and virtual learning period. We had the pleasure of meeting with Dr. Myers-Small and Ms. Martinez now 3 times. The Bilingual Education Council parents are grateful for their engagement and want to note that this is the first time in 3 years that the superintendent has engaged with the council in such a meaningful way. We understand the challenges the new superintendent has inherited, and we appreciate the collaboration of both the superintendent and the deputy superintendent. It is refreshing. Unfortunately, these concerns have been ongoing, and we can't continue to accept the current conditions for bilingual education. And now with the additional concerns around virtual learning. Parents continue to be concerned with the quality of remote instruction for bilingual students. Significant disparities already existed for students of color who are bilingual prior to the pandemic, and this new learning environment has made these inequities worse. So we continue to demand compliance with the Bilingual Education Council bylaws and demand that the district stabilize bilingual education. BEC has outlined expectations, created a list of speakers, presentation and accommodations, food, snacks, beverages, etc., required for BEC meetings, and are working collaboratively to ensure that these things occur. We have scheduled and are planning for several holiday events. Many parents still do not have a laptop or MiFis. Some parents are experiencing issues with their MiFis not working. This was communicated directly to Dr. Myers-Smalls during her presentation at the October BEC meeting. Parents continue to be concerned that many teachers are not engaging for the full 45 minutes of instruction. They also continue to be overwhelmed by the technology challenges supporting their children with classwork and just managing day to day, and are experiencing a huge need in basic needs and a need of in-home case management supports and services. We are also still missing bilingual school BEC representatives as required by the BEC bylaws. We want to congratulate Monroe Upper School for their amazing achievement and graduation rate and their significant gains in the various areas. This speaks to the leadership of Sandra Chevalier Blackman and her ability to create a culturally responsive school that met the need of bilingual students and their families. We want to also thank the Monroe Upper School team for their dedication to the highest quality of bilingual education. October 2020, we had over 20 parents in attendance. Dr. Myers-Smalls and Ms. Martinez presented to the BEC the information requested regarding bilingual schools, seats, available seats, and percentage of attendance for virtual learning for each bilingual school. The presentation is posted on the BEC Facebook page. During this meeting, we signed up parents for food boxes provided by FoodLink and were delivered to parents by Ibero staff. That concludes our report. Muchas gracias. October 22, 2020.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. Appreciate that. Okay, I did want to mention, I did not submit a policy report. I mentioned that earlier, but I did think it was important to mention during my president's report that another meeting that I went to was an orientation policy committee meeting. And our rep, Joe DiFiore, I think his name was, right, Kalia? He is our parent rep. Joe, thank you for coming to the orientation meeting. He has 2 children and they are at number 33 school. And I brought that up to say, thank you to our staff. We've never had orientation meetings for parent reps on our committees. And it's a good way to sort of work people into the system and explain how it works. So thank you, Kalia and Francine, for doing that. And also, it'll appear in my policy committee report. I had a meeting with Rahima. Well, I had a meeting scheduled with Rahima and Carl. It got canceled because of commitments that other people had. Then it was rescheduled. I wasn't able to go, but Rahima and Carl are working on a way to dissect our review of our policies. And I want to thank Rahima, who is our newest member of our team. And of course, Carl, who's been working on this, going back to Deborah Flanagan for that work. All right, so that's it. Now we're going to move on to consideration.
Hey, Dan, can I interrupt for just a moment?
Absolutely,
I'm sorry.
yes.
Great. Before we get too much further, I just wanted to say a quick shout out to Dr. Myers-Small and for her report. Thank you for all the work that you've been doing. But I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to Superintendent Nelms. I was really incredibly impressed just regarding the student conferences, or the parent conferences rather, that your school coordinated. They were just incredible via Zoom, and I've never had that sort of experience before. And I know we're all stressed in a situation, but it was a great opportunity to connect with my child's teachers. It was just so well coordinated and just really much appreciated. One of my children, they started at East this year, so they're brand new. And you've just made this transition a very smooth one for our family and for so many other families. And as an educator teaching both remote and hybrid sections, I'm learning from what I witnessed. So that was just great educational practice. So much appreciated. Kudos to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Were there any other questions? I apologize, Dr. Nelms. Were there any other questions for Dr. Nelms following his report? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Next item on the agenda is consideration of resolutions. We have to do what we have to do, but as Dr. Nelms did indicate, the last presidential debate is tonight. And this work is more important, but in case anybody's interested, it starts at 9 o'clock. Okay, so I need a motion to consider a resolution 400. Is there a motion?
So moved.
President White, really
Talia.
quickly,
Yes.
just wanted to let you know the East EPO resolution is 436, and that starts the
That's
packet.
the first one, yeah.
Yes, I apologize. I saw that after I called off 400. So why don't we go ahead and do 400 and we'll back up to 436, all right? I think someone did make that motion. I thought I heard somebody.
Malloy.
Commissioner Malloy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. Any questions or comments regarding resolution 400?
I just want to again just reiterate that I'm not voting on these types of resolutions during the pandemic. It is nothing personal to the individuals who are listed on the resolutions. I'm just not voting for tenures during the pandemic.
Any other questions or comments regarding resolution 400? Again, I'm just looking at the participant screen, so I can't see you guys. All right, doesn't seem to be there any further comments. All those in favor of resolution 400 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Make sure your screen is on too, folks. Do you have all your ayes? I only heard Commissioner Powell, but you good?
Yep.
All right. All right,
One
so long
nay.
as, all right, and there is one nay, and that's Commissioner LeBron. All right. Seems that the ayes have it. Let's move on to resolution 436. Thank you for catching that for me. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. LeBron. Any questions or comments regarding resolution 436, which again relates to the East EPO? Looking at my participant screen, I don't see any questions, any raised hands. Don't hear any comments, so let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of resolution 436 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seems like the ayes have it, Madam Clerk. Let's go on to resolution 404. That's for the appointment of a part-time position. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. I do see, oh, nope. I thought I saw somebody raise their hand. Are there any questions or comments regarding resolution 404? Don't see any, so let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of resolution 404 indicate by saying aye.
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 Any nays? All right, 404 passes. Next, so long as there is no objection, I'd like to take as a bulk, and let me know if you have a problem with it, resolutions 411 to 423. Now, it's not sequential because 421, there is no 421 resolution. So it's 411 to 423 minus 421. Any objection to handling these resolutions in that manner? I don't hear or see any, so can I get a motion to advance for discussion resolutions 411 to 423?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Any questions or comments regarding resolutions 411 to 423?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Commissioner LeBron, sure.
I have several questions, just about a few of them. So for 411, I don't need it to go into executive. I just want to understand that the controller's position that's listed there, was that a vacancy? Was that a civil service position that was being filled, but now they passed? I just need to understand that position.
Carlene, would you address that, please? You said 411, correct, Commissioner LeBron?
411, correct.
Okay.
Certainly, that is a combination of two positions. There was a person who oversaw the accounts payable department who resigned some time ago. And then we had the resignation as well of the person who oversaw payroll. So it's a combination of the two.
So is a new position that was created from two that were vacant, apparently? Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this has actually been a recommendation by consultants in years past. They made the recommendation for this position to be created. And so we fulfilled that recommendation. And it is actually to the benefit of the district from an expenditure standpoint.
Okay, thank you. And then on number 415, I think I don't know if we're going into executive tonight, but actually at number 415, I do want to discuss to have some understanding for that resolution.
We do have to go into executive session on an unrelated matter, so we can do that.
Okay, so then for 415, I just want to briefly discuss that in executive. And then 418, I just had a question about that resolution and what that actually means.
Hold on, I'm flipping through.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm going to pull it up too. I have a cheat sheet for myself that I create around these resolutions. So let me go to 418.
Chris, do you mind answering that one?
Sure. It might be preferential to discuss that in executive session as well.
Okay.
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 I was just kind of confused about the way that it was worded. So.
Okay.
So 415 and 418, do we have to make a motion to pull those two for executive?
No, what we would have to do is just amend the motion that has us voting on resolutions 411 to 423. And we'll make an amendment to that motion. So the purpose of the motion is to have discussion about those particular items. We've had the discussion now. We're gonna have someone amend it to exclude 415 and 418, and then we can vote on all the other resolutions in between.
Okay, thank you.
And we will later on make a motion to go into executive session, discuss those two, and then, as you know, we would come out and vote on them.
Move to amend.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner LeBron. So now what we're talking about and still discussing are resolutions 411, 412, 413, 414, 416, 417, 419, 420, and 422 and 423. Any other questions or comments regarding those resolutions? Go to my participant screen. Nope, there are none. So why don't we go ahead and take a vote? All those in favor of resolutions that I just described, let me repeat so the record is clear: 411, 412, 413, 414, 416, 417, 419, 420, 422, and 423. Indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, Madam Clerk, the ayes have it. Commissioner LeBron will get back to those other resolutions momentarily. All right, next I need a motion to discuss resolutions 425 to 428. These are educational facilities
Motion.
resolutions. Thank you, Commissioner. I think that was Malloy. Commissioner Braun, thank you for that second. Any questions or comments regarding resolutions 425 to 428? I'm looking at my participant screen. I don't see any, so let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of resolutions 425 to 428, which are educational facilities final payments, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seems that the ayes have it. All right, next we have to discuss resolutions 430 to 431. Is there a motion?
Motion. Oh, sorry.
1 second. 429 was withdrawn, so we're just starting at 430.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
I said 430 to 430. I thought that's what I said. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it's getting late. Maybe I'm thinking about Trump and Biden. But it's 430 to 431. And there was that motion was moved and seconded. Any questions?
Say his name.
Don't say his name. All right. Maybe that's what's got me messed up. Resolutions 430 to 431. Are there any questions or comments regarding those resolutions?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
For 430, I just wanted an explanation of that resolution in the sense of what I understood it to be is that we are a pass-through district for other school districts for Title I dollars. And I know that we have asked for presentations on the different titles to the board before, but then just seeing the fact that we're a pass-through for all these districts, I just needed to understand that a little bit better. So I don't know if there's a simple answer for that. And then if there's not, then my request would be a presentation on Title I again. And I do have one for 431 as well, but I can wait to let the administration respond before I.
Dr. Morris.
Good evening, and thank you for the question. I have a little summary that I can give to you about the pass-through nature when it comes to Title I. So Section 8501 of the Every Student Succeeds Act requires that our district, as the local education agency, provides an equitable share to private schools. So the schools in this contract request are our private schools in the area. And so because of that act and that law, the Rochester district must provide an equitable share to any private school where a City of Rochester student of residence is enrolled. And so the reason why we are requesting this in contract form this year is because in the past, we would typically just do, as it says, a pass-through. And there was no contractual arrangement between the district and the non-public schools that we passed through. However, what we have done by creating a contract is we have now allowed ourselves a contract form to be able to ensure the fiscal monitoring of the ESSA-funded programs. So this allows us to then monitor the grant spending, allows us to monitor and do upkeep and track how the what purchased equipment has been obtained through the grant funds, and allows us invoicing that's through a contract form. So this is actually a protection for the district rather than just doing a flow through without any type of protections in terms of contract overview. We have now specifically outlined the amount of money that we're giving. We've outlined the amount of pupil spending that we're allocating that flow through for. And we have a contract now with these non-public schools so that we have a clear delineation of what we're giving the money for, and also the types of purchased equipment that flow through as a result with this.
Okay, I just want to clarify then, because on the resolution, all the schools that are listed are public school districts. So when I saw Brighton Central School District and Bath Central School District, East Arundequoit Central School District, Gates, Chile, Greece, I think that's what confused me. I think if I would have read private schools versus the actual public school districts, knowing that they're a public school district, they get their own funding. I'm confused again, like, are we then a pass-through district passing that money to another school district, and then that school district is passing it to private schools?
So that's a very good question as well. So the schools that are in the school districts that are being requested for this pass-through are private schools. So for example, in Brighton, it's Destiny Christian School, Hillel Community Day School, McQuaid Jesuit, Seton Catholic, Siena Catholic, Westfall Academy. And there's an attachment that came with the resolution that details each one of these schools. And so for Brighton, for example, there's $107,488, or there should be. If there isn't, I'll make sure that this should have been and is referenced in the resolution. And so therefore, we made sure to delineate and detail exactly what schools are being identified for this. So instead of just sending a $107,000 check to Brighton, we're saying specifically, we are sending you this money via contract for these schools specifically, and we're outlining that in a contract so that we are assured that this money is going to a specific place and fulfilling our pass-through agreement with the non-public schools. And we're being very specific versus just sending that money as, you know, we hadn't had a contractual agreement in the past.
Okay, I just also want to know the attachment that you're discussing. We didn't see that. We just saw the resolution with the other public school districts.
Okay, so there should have been a out-of-district flow-through memo that came through from the Office of Grants and Program Accountability. So I can make sure that Kalia receives this so that she can make sure to provide it to you all. But it lists all the districts that are entering into contract. It lists every single non-public school that is associated with that. It associates the exact amount that goes along with each one of the school districts and for which school. And as I said, now we're creating contracts so that we can make sure that those equitable services are following our students who are City of Rochester students into these non-public schools.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Howell.
On this same resolution, I note that a number of these are beyond the boundaries of what might be commuting distance. Are some of these special act residential schools, Bath, for example, Weedsport, Union Springs, are they special act schools that students are enrolled in?
So these are schools that the district has to pass through funds for because the students that are enrolled there are indicated as students of residence within the geographic catchment area of the City of Rochester. So it's not necessarily because of special act, it's because the students have indicated that they are a resident within the geographic catchment area.
Well, but that's my point. It's a 2-hour drive to get to Bath. Weedsport, likewise. So the students, like legal address is one thing, but that's not commuting distance. So I'm sort of inferring that there might be a residential school that they've been enrolled in, and in that case The only thing I can think of that might qualify is special act schools, something like a Norman Howard. So for the actual details would be useful, not because I want to know where every student is, but because I need to understand how our reach can go that far outside the 5-county, into the edges of our 5-county region.
So Hillside, which is in Bath Central School District, is a residential. So
Okay.
Hillside is special act, but not all of these are special acts. So there are some of them that they are indeed residential, and they're indicated in the list that goes along with the district.
Okay, I look forward to seeing that list. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's go back to those resolutions, which were 430 and 431. Any further
Question
questions?
431, Van.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just noticed in that resolution that New Beginnings was listed as moving over to Hart Street. And then also wanted to understand if there's any kids at Hart Street currently, or is this a resolution that's going to be remote only, and how that's going to work out?
Shirley, would you answer that, please?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. So the New Beginnings program did move over to Hart Street during the summer. There are currently 30 students in the New Beginnings program, but because we all are fully remote, those students are also receiving their services remotely.
Okay, but how would they be receiving these services from this organization remotely?
Center for Youth Services are provided in a remote environment as well, but they also do a lot of outreach. So this particular agency also does home visits and family outreach.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions regarding resolutions 430 and 431? There being no further questions or comments, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of resolutions 430 and 431 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seems like the ayes have it. I next need a motion to discuss resolution 432. Is there a motion? Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. Any questions or comments regarding resolution 432? Don't see any.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
No, let's go ahead. Go ahead.
I have my notes here. On 432, I think for me, the only concern I have, I think it sounds like a great partnership, and I definitely want to support always for our students to have access to resources and all resources available. But as we are about to embark on this 21-day racial diversity challenge, I guess my comment is really related to the diversity of the organization that we're partnering with, and ensuring that the individuals that are going to be servicing our students are also reflective of the students that they're serving. And I just want to note that, because I know that we do a lot of community partnerships, but if the diversity is not there, there are a number of other organizations that can provide the same services and have diversity. And, I would be amiss not to make that point, especially on record. So I just have a comment around that one. I may not support that one tonight for those reasons, but I'm sure we'll pass, Dr. Myers. That's what I'll say.
Any other questions or comments regarding resolution 432? There being none, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of resolution 432 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I think the ayes have it. Any opposition?
Nay.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. All right, I would, first of all, I need to put it on the floor. I need to motion to discuss resolutions 433 and 434.
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Malloy, will you do us the favor of thanking these donors?
Of course, of course. I just want to publicly acknowledge the generosity of two of our community partners. Key Bank and Julie Boswell. They have generously donated to our district. Key Bank has donated $35,000 to be used to help support our OASIS services. And Julie Boswell has donated 13 oil paintings valued at almost $4,000 to be displayed in our district buildings. So we are incredibly grateful for these very generous gifts, and they will have a direct impact on our students and our whole community. So thank you very much.
President White, can I
Yes,
jump on what Commissioner Malloy said? The 13 oil paintings are African-American women who have contributed to STEM. So I think that is really important to share that. They're beautifully done. I have seen the pictures, and so Marisol and I have been speaking about ways that we can maybe debut these maybe during Women's History Month, but they're all women of color. So I think that's an important delineation to make.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for Superintendent Myers-Small and Commissioner Malloy for recognizing those contributions. We do sincerely appreciate it. And I did my little applaud thing. I know Key Bank and Julie probably can't see that, but I know they feel our appreciation for that effort. And it sounds like the paintings and that money will go a long way to affecting our students. So thank you once again for doing that. So we have to go ahead and vote. All those in favor of accepting the generous gifts of Key Bank and Julie, what's your last name again? Sorry?
Boswell.
Boswell, thank you. Indicate by saying aye. That's resolution 433 and 434.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? I can't imagine. So thanks again on behalf of the Board of Education. It's truly appreciated. And then finally, there's resolution 435. It's an authorization regarding Frontline Technologies Group, LLC. I need to get that on the floor first. A motion for resolution 435.
Motion.
I heard a couple people. I'll go with Commissioner LeBron, and then I also heard Commissioner Powell. That'll be a second. Any questions or comments regarding resolution 435?
I just want to state that this is the resolution that Carl discussed on Tuesday's meeting as being one that we need to track for Medicaid for special education. And it's a needed resolution.
Any other questions or comments regarding resolution 435? There being no further questions or comments, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of resolution 435 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seems like the ayes have it there, Madam Clerk. Next, you see on your agenda some unfinished business, but that has been removed from the agenda per our superintendent. They want to do a little more work on that strategic management plan, and so we want to give them the time to do that. Thank you, Superintendent Myers, and your staff for working on that plan diligently. And then under new business, you see all that stuff about the orientation manual, board professional development, the board goals and metrics, and the budget calendar, but all that was discussed and approved during committee reports. So we can move on from that portion of the agenda. We do have to go into executive session on matters related to the terms and conditions of particular employees, and that it would include the resolutions indicated by Commissioner LeBron. Before we do that, I want to, on behalf of the board, I want to thank our staff, Kaya, Rahima, and Francine. I see you applauding Commissioner Malloy. This is not, as you all know, this is not an easy job. The things that these folks have to do, we're texting, people don't even know, right, Leslie? We're texting people and I'm texting, I know I'm driving Kaya crazy and people are, so really, cannot say it enough. Thank you very much for the work. This is not an easy job and things can go, a million things can go wrong, but you guys seem to keep the train going forward. So I don't know if Rahima is listening or Francine, but this is being recorded, so the board is saying thanks, and we want them to know that. Can I get that motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Seconded by Commissioner Malloy, and it is for that purpose to discuss the terms and conditions of a particular employee. Folks who are watching this board meeting, thank you for being so diligent. I know you're probably watching the debates. We are going to come back out of executive session because there are some resolutions that we have to vote on. If you'd like to stick around, you can, but I suggest you go get educated on what our next president is going to be saying about a variety of things. All right, Tom, let me know when we're in executive session and we'll continue our conversation there. That's the final word, for me at least. Okay, Rochester, we're back in session. As I promised, we did have a couple matters we have to discuss and vote on. And we'll begin with a motion to discuss Resolution 415. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Any further questions or comments regarding Resolution 415? Doesn't appear to be any. Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of Resolution 415 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right. The next that we got to get on the floor is Resolution 418. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. I think it was seconded by Commissioner Malloy. So let's go ahead and vote. Oh, sorry about that. Are there any questions or comments regarding Resolution 418? I don't see any, so let's go ahead. Oh, did I hear somebody say something? Nope. All right. Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of Resolution 418 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Seems like the ayes have it. And then finally, we have a resolution walked on the floor. That is Resolution 437. Thank you, Mr. Miller, and thank you, Madam Superintendent, for bringing this to our attention. I need a motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Any questions or comments regarding Resolution 437? Doesn't appear to be any. All those in favor of Resolution 437 indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposing Resolution 437? Doesn't appear so, Madam Superintendent. It appears that Resolution 437 has passed. The only thing I need tonight now, at this moment, is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And that is made by Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Second.
I see Commissioner Adams smiling. All those in favor indicate by saying, let's go see the debate. Go ahead. Let's go see.
Let's go see the debate. Let me
Do we
go
have
to
a
work.
survey? Do we
I
have
gotta
a
go to work.
survey?
What'd you say?
Survey.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
Governance.
geez.
Yeah.
Commissioner Malloy. All right, here we go.
I also, while everyone is taking the survey, I just want to let you know that the survey result analysis has been completed. And we are just fine tuning that. It will be hopefully presented at the November governance meeting, or that's the hope if Commissioner Malloy agrees. So I'll be able to share what persons have been thinking regarding our board meetings at that time.
Thank you, Kalia. We appreciate the work on that.
All right, you guys have a good night.
Yep.
Night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Hey, listen, we can't adjourn until we gotta, right? You gotta, sorry,
Have 4
guys.
people to vote. I do have a motion and a second, just not a vote.
Yep, 4.
Am I the one slowing everybody down?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the pressure's on. I know. One more, guys. I just got one more. All right. Submit. Okay, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting indicate by saying aye. I think we said this already. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everybody. Good job.
Bye.
Good night. Take care.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, Tom.
Hello.
Thank you.